Trilogies are something that all of us are aware of. A series of 3 movies that tell a story between all of them. Or maybe they're anthology. You know, you can do that too. When I say the word, I bet the same ones pop into your head as they do mine. Lord of the Rings, Back to the Future, Star Wars. Actually, now that I think about it, there's like 3 Star Wars trilogies. That's literally a trilogy of trilogies. Even as I'm writing this video, I'm watching the first Mad Max film, the beginning of a trilogy. They're fucking everywhere. However, there is a handful of lesser known trilogies out there that you may not think of as trilogies at all. There's Lars von Trier's Depression trilogy, which stars Charlotte Gainsbourg as 3 different characters who suffer grief and depression in a handful of different ways. There's also Luca Guadagnino's Desire trilogy, which portrays different stories of love and sexuality. However, between all of these different trilogies, sorry, I have just now realized I've said this word so many fucking times already. I promise I'm getting to the point and I'll stop saying it soon. There's one which I think is incredibly underlooked in ways of its filmmaking, its messages, and its story, which is the thing that I want to talk about today. This is Don Hertzfeldt's World of Tomorrow Trilogy. I'm going to just briefly talk about each of these films one by one and eventually discuss why they are so brilliant and what makes this trilogy such a depressingly great time. So to start us off, let's speak about the beginning of our journey follows Emily Prime, a young girl who is contacted by a clone of herself from 227 years in the future. Clone Emily transports current day Emily inside the Quinternet, a futuristic version of the internet where she begins to inform past Emily of the details of the future and some history on her life within it. I know that this already is a lot to take in, but it gets much deeper than that. However, I am going to avoid spoilers for all 3 of these films, so I'm going to try and keep this very minimal with details to explain why these films are so good rather than just outright explaining, oh, this plot point is really good because of this. The biggest theme to take away from this first film is our demand as humans to live forever, whilst also discussing the issues that come with human connection. Don is a filmmaker who spends a lot of his work discussing all these issues that come about in our daily lives, whilst incorporating humour throughout. A great example of this is in his earlier work like Rejected, which may not be so deep story-wise, but it still holds up with its message and its comedy. I think it's fucking hilarious. By centering the story around Emily, we're able to view the miserable future that possibly awaits us through the lenses of a mindless child who doesn't know any better. This version of humanity continuing to search for the answer to immortality, eventually finding it. Although they don't directly state to the audience, the message it delivers is, despite our limited time on this planet, the real peak that we desire is the moment we're currently living in. Chasing that sensation will only result in the constant reminder that a memory is just a time that is no more. And as much as we wish to replicate it, it's gone. Clone Emily even states during the runtime, that's the thing about the present, you only appreciate it when it's the past. And maybe that's what makes the first film so special. Was that depressing? Sorry. Anyway, here's Episode 2 kind of continues exactly where we left off, but maybe a couple years later, a couple weeks later, who knows. I said previously that the first film is all about memory, but they all slightly linger on the idea of the past and how we can't live in those memories anymore. But the first one does the best job of doing that. However, this second part also has a much larger theme and frame, our search for identity and the lengths that we'll go to try and find our true selves. Here we follow Emily Prime as she is once again interrupted by a clone of herself. This time, a sick version of the previous clone that she met in the first film. This Emily has trouble controlling herself and believes that she's lost a sense of who she truly is. This has led her to the decision of replicating Prime Emily's consciousness and putting it in her own. If that sounds complicated, just wait till I get to the fucking third one. That's when it all hits the fan, man. Throughout the duration of the film, we learn more of clone Emily's life and what led her to this drastic decision. We linger on her past encounters in life that shaped her into the person that she is and what led her to have this crisis in the first place. This film feels slightly more bittersweet in comparison to the other two, at least to me. It teaches the viewer that choosing a path of uncertainty can lead to a happier lifestyle rather than doing things in our life that feel ingenuine in order to please others, or a fake lifestyle that we have in our head that we think that we'd prefer to what we're actually doing. Something I haven't even mentioned is that these films have a perfect balance of these beautiful scenes and sad moments and even some really great bits of humor. They're able to capture a wide range of emotions which some films with triple this runtime can't even achieve. Another thing is that these films need to be rewatched. It's very easy to miss little things, whether it's important to the story or just little jokes. I only say that now because this film and the next one are where things begin to get a lot more complicated for Emily and fun to pick apart. It's not just like, oh fuck me, this is so irritating now. That being said, I don't want to give too much away about this film or any of them, so now we get to discuss Once again it follows Emily, but not young. This time we're introduced to Emily 9, as she sends a message to a young David. Many years later, adult David sees this message, which instructs him into learning the truth behind a secret that Emily could never figure out. This film is fucking insane. Like, compared to the first two, this film is wild. People compare this to Rick and Morty. I've seen that online. I get it. I'm gonna ignore it and not do that. I see where you're coming from, but fuck off. Even on the levels of scale, this film tries so much harder to be bigger than the first two, and it works perfectly. This is like a proper epic film when you watch it. You feel like these little stick figures are larger than life itself. I guess the main theme or thing to take away from this one is that we remove parts of ourselves so that we can progress into a new experience in life. It's quite beautiful in that way, and it influences the point of not getting stuck in the past that the other two films also touch on. I guess the big thing you can reflect on after watching all three of these films is the constant journey of change that all of us are experiencing through life. But regardless of this, the fact that parts of our personality and memory will forever remain within our lifestyles and our hearts as we progress through life, because these parts of ourselves are quite literally some of the most important elements of our own existence. Who knows, maybe in the future we do end up cloning ourselves into an oblivion, but we will forever spend these moments reflecting on what made us, especially through those early stages in our life. Deep down, I truly believe that there is a part of Emily Prime inside each and every one of us. A part of us that has that innocent curiosity of what the world holds, whilst unknowingly realizing that we're experiencing those best parts of our lives as we live each day of them. Dawn has said that there's endless possibility for where the series could go next, but that the Emily saga is basically wrapped up and finished. And all I can say to that is, I truly cannot wait to see what the World of Tomorrow has to offer next. If you're curious about watching any of these films, they're all on Dawn's Vimeo. I will link each one in the description. I highly recommend renting them or buying them, supporting Dawn for the work he does. His work is so unique. He's making something of Ari Aster right now. Dear God, they gave this man a big ass budget. I cannot wait to see what he cooks up. If you enjoyed the video as well, please consider liking, subscribing, give me a comment if you've seen these films, let me know what you think of them. Just any support, I appreciate it a lot. And if you haven't seen my older videos as well, you know, go back and watch them. They're pretty good and you might like them. Thank you for watching again. And yeah, see ya.